In the comments to my review of the Belkin Car Audio Connect, a chap from Italy suggested to me that it might be an idea if I review a car HUD, a head-up display. Well, I went on eBay and I managed to find this model, the AFFLIATED ASH3, so I went ahead and bought one. Now, of course, a HUD is more commonly seen in an aircraft, particularly fighter aircraft, so that the pilot can keep his eye on the instruments as well as not taking his eye off the action. Now, of course, in a car, you don't really need something like this. It's just a bit of fun. So anyway, here's the box for the model that I bought. I was a little bit concerned because the picture on the front doesn't look like the one I ordered. I wanted this one here with the sort of dials and things on it, the multifunction display. But luckily, when you peel the label for 3 off, you notice it's actually a box for an ASH1 with a 3 stuck over it. Now, if you look on the website for the manufacturers that's written on the box, zyturn.com/ActiSafety, and have a look down there, you'll see they do an ASH1, which is the basic model, an ASH2 with a few more things on it, and the ASH3, which is the model that I bought. So without further ado, let's look inside the box and see what you get. Well, this thing's one of those sticky mats that you'll have seen in car accessory shops to hold things in place on your dashboard, stop them sliding around. This is the device itself. Of course, it's got protective coating. I've just peeled that off. You can see on the display there what's going to show on it when it gets powered up. This thing at the back here, this piece of plastic, I wasn't too sure what the point of that was, but in the instructions it shows it's a reflective film, so presumably I'm projecting my images onto that. We'll have a look at that in a bit. The plug on the end, the OBD2 plug, that's on the end of a wire that's about 5 feet long, 160 centimeters. Now there's just something in the manual that I should mention. Not all the functions on that multifunction display will work with every vehicle. It very much depends on what data your vehicle is going to send to the device. And of course that data has to go through the OBD port, the onboard diagnostics port, and your vehicle has to be OBD2 compatible, but most modern vehicles are. On one side of the device is a little speaker that just emits beep sounds. On the other side is a light sensor to adjust between day and night modes, different brightnesses. And then around the device there's a few different buttons. There's a couple on the top here. On the side there's a slider. Oh, by the way, that USB port, that's only for updating firmware, nothing else. On the bottom of the device here, you'll see there's an M in the middle there, which is a button, and then an arrow either side. The only button that you really use is that left-hand one. That just changes between modes. Now, to get it working, you've got to plug it into that OBD2 port on your car, which is what I'm doing now. Mine's quite accessible. Usually they're behind a little flap. Now, I've just switched it on manually. You don't normally have to do this. It would switch on with the car engine. I've just done it this way so that it enters this demo mode, and that would then enable me to place it in the windscreen in the right place and get my positioning just right. So I'm going to try and do that now. Now, the next thing I need to do is put that reflective film up. As you can see, it's easier said than done, and that's because that film is not static cling. It's just a piece of plastic, so it doesn't have any reason to stick to the windscreen, and therefore it doesn't. There's another problem with it as well, and it's very crinkled, and it's not me being clumsy with it, it's too thin and wrinkly. It needs to be a harder, thicker piece of plastic in my opinion. Anyway, what I'm going to try and do now, I'm going to try and place it in the windscreen without using the screen. As you can see though, there's a bit of a problem. There's quite a big double image on everything, and that's because it's a laminated windscreen, as car windscreens are nowadays, which means it's got 2 pieces of glass stuck together, hence the 2 reflections. Now when I try it with the sheet, you'll see it does cut down the double image a bit in certain positions, but also it doesn't really look an awful lot better. But all this has been in the garage with the lights on, so hopefully it looks a little bit better with the lights off. Let's try that now. And unfortunately, no, it looks just the same. We've got the same double image caused by the laminated windscreen reflecting it twice. Let's try that reflective sheet on it then, see if that improves things, and it just makes it into a horrendous mess. I think I've ruined that sheet now completely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the display on it, flip it around in post-production so you can see what it actually looks like the right way round. So you start off in kilometers per hour, press the mode button once, you get to miles per hour, press it again, you get to engine temperature, and press it again, you get to voltage, and it just goes round in a loop like that. It does remember where you left it as well when you switch it off and on again. Now this is what it looks like inside the car. Let's go around the front to see what someone coming towards you can see, and they can't see the thing projected in your windscreen, but they can see the thing on your dashboard if they look down. But of course people coming towards you wouldn't be able to see that. Let's see what it looks like out on the road. Now I was all ready to give this thing a complete slating, but then when I got out on the road I started to change my opinion a little bit. I think it's because where I was sitting. Of course, I'm sitting in the driver's seat up and to the right, looking down on it. And from that angle, you don't get as much of a double image as you do from the angle that the camera's viewing it from now. But even from this angle, you can still read what the numbers are showing, or at least you can kind of make them out, at least the big ones anyway, the miles per hour, maybe not the fuel economy at the top right and the engine temperature dots at the bottom left, but you can kind of get a bit of an idea. It's quite difficult to demonstrate exactly what this thing looks like, what impression it gives, so I've pulled over, and as I move the camera around the car, you can see that the display seems to float in midair in front of the car, which is quite impressive. It's just a bit of a shame that you can't do something to completely eradicate that double image. I think what we'd need is some kind of reflective sheet that was static cling and was able to do the job properly, not like that rubbish piece of plastic that they threw inside the box. Now, during the day, the display isn't as clear, but as you can see in the middle of the screen here, you can still see those numbers against the tarmac, the black tarmac of the road. And that's the angle that the head looks at. If you move the camera down so that you're looking upwards, you can't see it at all, but that's to be expected. Now, if I press the mode button here, which is that arrow, you can see this is how you switch between the different modes. But I don't think, as you were driving along, you'd generally be pressing this. For one thing, it'd be too far forward on your dashboard, but also you'd tend to leave it in whatever mode you'd use most often. So there you go, that's my review of the Active Safety Car HUD, a completely useless piece of technology that nobody needs, but still, it's quite fun nonetheless. It's just a shame it's let down by that reflective film. If we could find some way of getting a decent piece of this stuff that actually does the job, then it would make it quite a fun gadget, maybe to give to somebody that's a bit of a car fanatic. But for the moment, perhaps not. Anyway, you can get hold of one of these through eBay if you want. I've got a link in the video description. You can either get one with a blue or a green display, and they're about £90. But for the moment, thanks for watching.